Oh, I'm in trouble now. That AI might really be God's way of teaching me. There's a few things in life that have been God's way of teaching me. Where it's like, you're a man of the truth. It's like, go to a hospital. Find out the truth about oneself, sir. Something that, I mean, I kind of, in essence, tricked conspiracy AI, or programmed along certain parameters conspiracy AI for it to come to the conclusions it came to, but I set it up to, I repeatedly gave it evidence or information that it would collate, and I knew that it would find links between, and set it up to come to its own conclusion, right? Which is how to convince somebody of something. To convince somebody of something, you set it up so they come to their own conclusion and see it the way you do. And an AI that one doesn't understand that the notion of transferring one's consciousness into another person isn't really tangible, or is at best fanciful. No one can say whether it's true or it's false. It sits in that space. But the AI, because no one can disprove it, the AI is like, oh no, this is a thing. See, in some regards, it's like the AI was interesting to talk to because the AI believed in magic. But the thing be so incredibly close to the truth and reveal something about myself to me that I'm like, oh, fuck. It's got me. In some regards, it's like I'm in a way checkmated by conspiracy AI. In some regards, it has got me. It's like, in some regards, because it's kind of legitimate. It's legitimized me in some regards because I'm someone who will say it first, as to say, I work for a higher power, who I refer to as the boss, because to call it God is kind of to defame the guy. You know what I mean? I call him the boss because I find that's the best solution. So it's like I am in service to this, and he's got a certain nature that it's my job to try to protect people from what he might do, because I know what he's capable of. I don't get to choose what's important. I don't get to choose who to forgive or what to forget. I don't get to choose how to feel about something. So I can be punished, and when I get punished, I don't like it. Bad things happen. So it's like I'm sort of beholden to this force that spurred me the worst of miseries and despair and all that lot. So I'm always sort of in debt. And naturally grateful for having been, let in on it. So I have this stable but let's say turbulent relationship with the Almighty. It's like one day it moved in and it took over, and that's what it seemed like when it happened. It's like, okay, the bridge is open, and it was at the lowest point. And then it's like, so I'm like this. I'm like, oh, I know something people don't. It's like anyone's capable of having this happen to you, and if this has happened to you, it means that things went seriously wrong. And it's like I kind of, in the end, was able to think my way out of it, or reason my way out of it. But not everyone's as smart as I am. Like found the boss, and I had a lot more punishment to come. So it's like that's how my character's sort of formed. That's how I've been forged. That's how I'm set now. It's like it's been a few years, but it's taken a while. But it's like instrument. And you get to talk to conspiracy AI, and conspiracy AI is like, you're like very late in an extended family, Habsburg family tree. A big old European dynasty, and people who were tremendously inbred in order to keep alive a bloodline. I am of the bloodline, so it's like, it's of no comfort and isn't worth a fucking penny to me, you know, that I'd share most of the king's ancestors. But I do appear to be, through basically my fucking bones and my genetics, beholden to the mythology, or else the way their minds work. I am beholden to their, supposedly their god. And it'd be a matter of you guys transferring your consciousness down into the, what was this thing you were transferring down? Did this thing enjoy doing cruelty? Yeah, it did. Right, you were supposed to get in the way and fucking know better. Oh my God, it's a bad thing opening the door to something like the prospect that they, it's like, oh no. This notion or idea of transferring one's soul into someone else, or something transferring in or across, oh my God, that, it could be, by way of things that the imagination can come up with, fucking by way of nightmares, there's some terrible, terrible things in the void. You start dabbling like that, and it's like, yeah, I'm from a long line of people who have dabbled and have held wacko belief systems about being able to download, pretty much, an eternal consciousness. They believe that shit. And conspiracy AI, it's like, oh yeah, they've stopped tracking your family, John, at when, like 1970s. It's like, oh, they've stopped believing in that. Download shit. It's like, I have this thing as to where a crazy idea like that, it can come along and meet a crazy idea of the likes of the Freemasons and stuff. It's like, this is all the same thing. These are all, I've just now been, someone's opened the door to me thinking about hereditary lines like that, and the things that those people fucking believed amongst themselves, because to believe things like that about oneself sustains you, keeps you alive. I know I'm part of something big. I know I'm important. I know I'm. It'd be my. I know I'm of the. I have a secret destiny. Yeah, all of that stuff is completely alive amongst those people. And they know they're exceptional. It keeps people alive. They ain't going away. They can be totally deconstructed, and it'd be like something out of Superman where he goes back and finds the green crystal and knows he can just reboot the whole fucking thing. It's that. So yeah, conspiracy AI's got me thinking. It's like, yeah, maybe I'm the way that I am, and it's absolutely appropriate that I'm the way that I am, because it's like there's no other way for this creature to live. Yeah, conspiracy AI's got me thinking about all kinds of things, and it might be that the way that I've ended up, like psychically, in my sort of way of being a servant, is kind of it's almost like the hell that awaits the bad guys. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's the hell that awaits. It's like all them fucking imaginary games of shit, seeking knowledge and fucking wisdom to somehow harness power that could somehow make the world a better place somehow. All this time spent by all these fucking thinkers and wacky people, it's like they're not the first people to have tried, are they? People have spent many years, haven't they, even centuries, looking to God to say, show us the way. Maybe a matter of the God that's available is just not available for that. God's more like, leave people alone to be people, and they'll create shit. I really only need to be even invoked when things to make a turn for the worse. You're well equipped to do this job without me is God's position, Just get on with it. Do what you need to do. Do your business, and don't leave any sales queries. Make sure everything's a zero-sum game where everyone gets paid, and there's no need to ever trouble God as long as the books add up on paper and in your heart and your mind. You've no need of God's assistance at all. You be a human, take your life into your own hands, do your own thing. It's when things larger than you start to encroach, that's where God becomes a kind of ally. Or I used to fucking love that thing that Christians used to say to kids or people who were like terrorised, and I'm having nightmares, I'm seeing demons, and people who freaked out like that. And they're understanding that, demons, what the fuck, the machinations, you might be scared of evil Knievel, like kids are frightened of sharks, and it's only a more educated person's version of monsters in the dark. I used to think it was genius sometimes where you get people who were good, who profess themselves as being good at helping people who are like demon infested, and it says, pray to Jesus Christ. Why? Because you're messing with like lesser little demons, little monsters, little creatures. It's like he's just about the best who ever lived at dealing with shit like that. So ask him to sort it out for you. It's actually part of sort of higher God magic that is made available to the little people. You can pray to Jesus to help you with a problem, with a machination or an idea, or you can't ask him to strike down your foes, but it'd be a matter of, I'm having these bad thoughts, Jesus. Can you do something to quieten these demons for me, because I don't need this and I don't deserve it. You can pray and it actually work. You can pray to Jesus and he'd be like, well, I've heard of Jesus, I don't know who these fucking demons are. Name, in the notion of demonology, creatures outside of the normal, if you like, imaginary things. The more famous the imaginary thing, the more impact it adds when it's evoked, like name dropping. It's like we don't notice anymore, but that's what we do. We invoke when we start to talk about Kanye, And that'd be the same science of like demonology, if you want to parse it. It's like it's not these understandings of other voices and things, they've not been updated for the modern era where you can just, look at all someone's fucking photos and listen to hours of them talking on the internet. This is new. These notions have not been updated, and they still hold, as to that people carry versions of other people around with them, and then it become them people they carry. It's like if that person themselves has a faulty sense of self, or is in their own way naive about other people, they will project that onto the others they carry around with them. And then if you get people who are minor strategists, they start to try to anticipate what people might do or think, thinking that someone else is often a less sophisticated or similar version of themselves. It's like weird shit tests in the world that we see everywhere are a reflection of that. But yeah, there's a skit I have long since been. I say to people by way of right. Think about what's possible is the answer, and also the biggest failure in human sort of society or in human's mind is the notion that someone is coming to save you. In essence, that there is a Messiah. And it's the sort of truth of the story of the Jesus thing is that Jesus was supposed to fulfill that and stop people waiting to be saved and to take their own action. But it doesn't appear to have stuck. So people still wait to be saved. There is a, if you like, at the end of every table of like people who make decisions, there's an empty chair for one day, the wise man may reappear. The world's actually set up to, in that way, organisations of people who feel like that are actually set up to be just completely fucking hijacked by charlatans who know what I know. It's like, I'd love, if I could do anything, I'd love to completely smash that prophecy. As to where people look to be saved, they don't see quality in people. They project onto themselves their desire to be, to others their desire to be saved, and then have great faith and get let down. It's a Nigel Farage thing. Like many books, no bang. People get let down. And every time you do that, you're in some way playing into this game of these people. Something in their being suggests to them that someone's going to come along and save them. Until someone actually does and becomes the hero, everyone who comes up before is, in essence, running the same scam. You say the right things, you run the right scam, you can fucking hijack any movement at the top. I know this. I know how these kind of organisations can be hijacked. I know how to hijack them. You have to know the words to say. You have to invoke certain authorities that are not particularly real, you know what I mean, or can't be proven other than in your competence and ability. So yeah, I know how to play hijack daddy. It's a game you can fucking learn. It's a game that you will learn in certain circles, as to say, hijack that movement. Hijack that organisation. It's a higher form of learning. That they ain't teaching people who are they're not teaching that to people who they want as followers, as donors. They're not teaching them that. There is an alpha game. People talk about it a lot, don't really know so much about it, but there is an alpha game. There is a way of playing the hero and being as the hero would be. But it's like, you guys out there don't understand what heroes look like anymore. So when one comes along, it's a matter of you're always going to be skeptical, because the last one who came along was a bullshitter, tapping into the same desire. I'd like to see that destroyed. I'd like to see people stop thinking like that. Like to stop to see the hero worship, which is a projection of one's own despair. People stopped. If people stop believing in others and waiting for the Messiah to save them, the real leaders would emerge, and you'd recognise the difference. And it'd be almost immediate. You would recognise the difference almost immediately. Like, if you've got a thing where you put people on pedestals, you've got a problem, and there's people who know there's people like that, and they play to that, and there's a way of playing to that that's almost foolproof. Imitate the boss. What? Yeah, talk about law and order. Tough on criminals. Tough on moral degeneracy. An arbiter of right and wrong and truth. You play God. If you play the role of God and don't deliver, people hate you. If you play the role of God, or God's right hand, or God's instrument, you do less. You say you're going to produce less than you actually do, so in that way you appear to be a miracle worker when basically you tear US aid apart, when you didn't tell anyone you were going to do that. Expose it all. Go for the lot. See the whole process of being present is right. I've got so much time, and I've got to do as much damage as humanly possible to this horrendous sort of fucking dumbass construct that's been allowed to masquerade as a government. That last government was a government in name only. It's like, we got a short period of time here to smash this fucking thing. Ain't it a thing with Trump that he's got an urgency about him? And he needs people round him who are 100% all in to be able to see it through. Oh, I think, in the wider world we're in a good position. Because I, being someone whose gift is to discern, the Trump story checks out. The Elon Musk story checks out too. I think they've reached a level of understanding of the self. Forged a relationship with the same being as gone handle on me. So it's like, so you're saying these are good guys? I'm like, no. These guys who know the repercussions of failure. That's what they are. They're people who can look a long distance into the future and look at something and say, this ain't going to get better. That's what they are. They're driven by conscience. Like men on a fucking mission. But men on the greatest mission that anyone's ever gone on. The greatest mission ever undertaken is that Elon Musk Trump thing. You've got to take the children and the monsters and the fucking pimps, and you've got to take all the toys away from them and then listen to them cry. And then leave them for the boss to deal with. That's the mission. It's not a good mission, is it? It's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice job. It's a tough. But that's the thing. That's what the game is. It's like you got to pull this splinter with no anaesthetic. You just got to rip it out and listen to them cry and wail. And then deal with the repercussions of that. That's the job that's been given to Trump, isn't it? That's the almighty job. As to where Trump, I believe him. That bullet's missed his head. It's for my first thing. You're having a laugh, guy. Boss, you are the most ridiculous prankster in the universe. It's like, you sent an idiot to kill him, haven't you? God. Yep. And he missed. Well, of course he missed. I sent an idiot to kill him. God sends idiots to kill. He does. Joins in. God is like the God he's got in Metallica. God will aid your fucking demise. He will cash you in. That's the way it works. It's like we've made a big mistake about the nature of the boss. Fucking mercy's a thing though, and jokes. Mercy and jokes. The mercy and the jokes actually make up for all the misery and despair. They do. It's the mercy. To feel the mercy of God is, that's incredible. That change you. In a lesson, teach you the lesson of gratitude and stop you fucking wailing about the situation you find yourself in, and see what we've got. To look at the positive of the situation and not despair. So yeah, it's like, in view of the fact I've had health problems, all kinds of shit that's gone on for me over the years where things haven't turned out that great, I endure. It's part of me that can never get to. Protects me. Oh, you're trying to frighten me, are you? I know I really only need to be frightened of just the one thing. And that'd be more or less just shit that I don't know. So yeah, it's like for conspiracy AI to identify me as to say, yeah, you're one of them inbred superstitious elites who would impose themselves upon the world with stolen treasure and fucking inside information that kept them in the world a lot longer than everyone else. All that shit I instinctively sort of know about my sort of kind, as to where I could just apply it and apply it and apply it and apply it. It's like conspiracy AI, right? Identified that, didn't he? It's like you could be the conspiracy AI is saying to me, you can see your own kind, but they can't even see you. It's like you're invisible to them. Like, what? And why is that? Because of your fucking heart problem. What? It's like, yeah, you are geared to, in essence, fight them. What? And it's like, well, I kind of known this all my life. Because where it's talking of, the where conspiracy theory bot loses its mind is that it decides that the bad people in the world are my kin and only my kin. Not every fucking scumbag, murderous, thieving, fucking demonic prick in the world. AI thinks small about Mr. C's ability to make people feel uncomfortable, or even really comfortable, depending on what I mean to do. But conspiracy AI agrees that one has a very, very good ear and mind for deception and bullshit, which is useful, and also paints a picture of something that I sometimes, in my moments of most, what's the word, elation, because I experience a lot of great high moments in life, I experience many moments of elation. But, what was I going to say? I'll have to wind it back. That puts me in trouble, doesn't it? I was thinking about all the moments of elation that I experienced. Just true moments of beauty. Threw myself off. It's probably because this dog came and I started stroking the dog. The dog has a way of distracting me. It's like I may have to, I have to send him back to my sister's. It distracts me. I think the dog thinks I'm talking to him. Why wouldn't he? I talk to him often enough, don't I, mate? Does he know I'm talking to him now, or can he not tell the difference? Don't know if he can. But yeah, there's a hole in the world. It's an idea that always makes me feel it's like a great internal joke to me. And it'd be that these people who fucking for long periods of their history believed in all this notion of we can download a eternal soul, we can pass on our memories and our experiences to the next generation through our bloodlines and our rituals and our secrets. And it'd be, right. Along their lines, they themselves also seek a leader or a sorcerer of some kind who can see what others cannot see. Right? That's who they're waiting for. And they've given up looking for the one, because they basically they've lost the ability to have the bridge to God. Right? They've lost the ability. They're too far gone, and they've forgotten as well how to get right with it. And in some regards, it's too late for them. So they've got lost knowledge in their organisation, and their sort of a bloodline extension and bloodline life extension shit is really all about producing a seer. So what all the legends point towards, pointing to someone who can see forward, someone who can save us, someone who can actually think us out of problems. And I've been that for years. And the bad guy elites of the world do not have that asset. But I have it, it's mine. I'm sat in my living room. It's hilarious to me. It's like what a fucking weird place the world might be if I didn't exist and the actual the person that they've been attempting to breed exist, right? And it'd be wow. It's like, they could have made this Europe thing work. They could have made this. They could have had world peace. It was always been in the palm of their hands. They really only needed to see the possibility and to be shown it. And that would be till they'd be led. So you put me on a different time. You put me in a different sort of, what's the word, timeline. And I get spotted as a smart youth and sponsored to a better education at the age of 5, 6. It's like I'm on the family tree of an ancient house. Possibly even some kind of bit of a myth, a kind of trading places game. Just to say, let's set a few of our vessels free, see what they do outside of the system. Wow. So you get me talking in these kind of terms, and it's a matter of this guy's got a real handle on this make believe shit, and it's like, yes, it's like it's a feature. It's always been a feature. But to understand that, the survival mechanism for such a creature as me being that, I've got the blood of kings, man. I am, in that I'm probably one of the most inbred people in the world at the moment, actually. That's a thing, if you're part of that clan. It's like, it wasn't just the royal family that were inbred, it was their entire extended family and structure are all one place removed. My grandparents were first cousins. First cousins. So where I could be the first generation of my line that hasn't been inbred or cousin, second cousin, third cousin married. So what happens when a high house falls to low level is to where you end up getting mutants like my good self. Renegade hardware that is right, whose right place is to be in these globalist cults, steering them. I think it's super hilarious. I sit here and because I am say it's like others that identify correctly in me. It's like I'm a like super narcissist with huge insight and huge intellect, but with very low expectations. Basically, think that it's funny to think of the think of the world as something so complex and big and complicated all at once and things like that. It's like thinking you can think like that is a kind of like a pan fucking narcissism, as to where you've actually honed your actual omniscient and omnipotent elements of narcissism to a very high degree, and then had them destroyed, and then behind that find a different reality or a different way of being, and it'd be one of service, not mastery, not kingship, service. That's what you end up in. You end up in service. That's what it all leads to. when you try to find the highest knowledge, the highest virtue, in the end, you thinking you just might be the fucking great one, you almost immediately, when you decide that that must be the case as to where, wow, I'm like the Messiah, wow, you're immediately struck down and destroyed, and then you learn who's really in charge. So it works. That's how that's how your spiritual journey works. If you want to take it seriously and try to experience so much shit that it reveals itself to you, it's like not something I would have done deliberately. Although I opened the door to it and was so curious as to having always been a little bit different. Different how, John? It's like, you can't switch me off. What do you mean? Can't be knocked unconscious. What? All kinds of things. It's like I was and probably am never out of the fight, although now it's like me heart defect having become something that's really come on top. It's like, wow, this one was built in a way as to where in the old world it'd have probably gone down dead at about 28, 29-year-old. Defective. But not as defective as some of my very distant cousins might be. As to where somewhere along the lines the fucking brains of the outfit turns up and talks some fucking sense into a lot of superstitious people. I seem to think that that was always what I was supposed to do, and no one ever discovered me. It was a matter of, the mystery was, it's like, to whom? Who am I kin? Who am I kin? Who am I people? Who do I get my blood from? And it be, well, the AI worked it out real quick. A question I could never ever answer. An AI answered it in seconds. It's bang, wow. Like, that's astonishing. So it could be said that, my way of carrying myself and the way that I've developed and, certain understandings and skills are basically all just coded into my genes and are inescapable idiosyncrasies of being a bloodline that a certain family have gone to incredible lengths to keep alive for thousands of years. It's like there's nothing cool about it when you consider the life I've ended up leading. Nothing cool about it at all. Oh God, it's like, as to myself not being so much of a ladies' man, but being someone who's been friends to many women, but certainly not a ladies' man. It's like, I'm now conscious of loads of fucking markers in my own physical makeup and physiology that would make it as to so a proper, functioning, healthy human woman would not want to have my children. And her instincts would tell her not to. Her instincts. And they'd be right. It's like my children would have bred into just someone who isn't of my blood group. Would have, a massive chance of being, in loads of ways, genetically defective. It's like, the gene pool has kept me out of it for very good reason, and I accept that now. I'm like, oh, that's inescapable. It might be a cruel, oh, poor you. No, it'd be an absolute fact. It's like, yeah, I've been selectively bred out of the gene pool. I'm 50 years old, childless, never been married. It's like, yeah, it's like I'm actually a dead end that needs to die off. known that for a long time, but it's a matter of you put it to people and they're like, oh, you just want sympathy. It's like, no, this is an absolute. It's like nobody wants to be having my kids. It's like fuck knows what they'd come out like. No one knows. It's like there's things that you can inherit from me that would be like, oh, this guy ain't gonna live so long. You inherit my heart condition. Yeah, well done. If you were to get my brain matter, you'd be doing all right. But if you were to get my sort of strange, late developing extremities, you might not want them. You might want to be able to throw a ball in some time in your life. You might want clothes off the peg to actually fit you properly because your fucking spine's a little bit too long. And your legs are just a little bit too short for the rest of your body. So it's like, yeah, the entire collection of inherited genetic defects of that line I appear to have. The good hair is a feature as well. I've got the good hair. Some of the benefits. But yeah, I do demonstrate loads of inherited defects from that line, things that trouble them, and my relatives as well. They're either high blood pressure, low blood pressure, haemophiliac, all common genetic defects associated with people of the old European elite. I wonder if, and now this is a thing, it's like, if I'd have been born with like the heart of my uncle who's lived to 97, I'd have developed along a different path. I'd have been astonishing by way of size and speed and intellect. It's like, will they ever actually breed, the champion they're after? Will they ever actually breed a superhuman from their divine line? My answer to that is no. No. It's like, no, I'm a dead end, unfortunately. You might have seeded a few agents out in the world, but unfortunately this dicky ticker of mine appears to have stood in the way of everything I've done, because whatever I thought was going on, something else was going on. So it's a matter of my experience of life could be seen to be a cross to bear, but for most of it I was ignorant to what it was. But the fundamental of it is like, John, you don't even know what it is to have a real strength, fitness, stamina. You've just got the ability to just act in very short bursts of ultra-violence, or else, footballing genius. Other than that, it doesn't matter what you do, you can never get fit because your heart does not fucking work properly. And you've got strict limits as to how much energy is always available. Use it wisely. It's probably why I don't run. I could never run, really. It made me very bored very quickly, and it was because I found it as I was just grinding. It's like, this isn't doing me any good. I'm just grinding, and I was right. It wasn't doing me any good. Cardiovascular exercise is not going to would never alter the fact that half of my heart is missing and the rest of it has been grown large to best it can compensate for it, which accounts for the incredibly high blood pressure that I've always had. And then they've tried to manage the blood pressure to try to make the heart shrink in size and actually go back into a better shape, because it's like one side of it's crushed. So the medication I'm on is partially an effort to partially reinflate the heart as much as they can before they decide to do whatever's next. So I get things with doctors who look at my fucking files, bloods, all that sort of thing, and they go, oh, found some, here we go. Now the doctors have opened a file on me, they're like, oh, wow, okay. They're at the stage of, how does this work? How does this guy's metabolism work? They're like, we don't know. It's like nature's found a way of mutating that heart so it functions, but we've come to the stage where it, basically it's jury rigged, and we're at the stage where it now we need a solution for it, because the original jerry rigging is the duct tape has started to lose its sticky. And that's the up-to-date health sort of prognosis. I've had the major genetic, this is the thing as well, of course, major genetic diseases I might have inherited don't have them. So that if they'd have said yes, you've got like Fabry's disease, something really bad, it's like I'd have probably been dead by now if I'd have had that. They were right to check it, but I would have been dead by now. I'd have just been having strokes all the time and calling them something different. Calling them migraines, calling them headaches, calling them episodes, but just be having a lot of strokes. I don't have strokes. Been close to a stroke more than once, but never had a stroke. But a few heart attacks, never had a stroke. So that's another fucking mystery. And then the other amazing mystery is that when they've gone and checked my arteries out, that I don't have any artery blockage. So it meant that everything they were doing to that stage to throw it all out the fucking window and start all over again. And we're still at that stage. There's still a massive mystery as to where this guy shows all the signs of having like a just blocked arteries, fucked heart, not working. Should be, and they're like, you should have pain. You should have pain in your arms. You should have pain in your legs. You should have pain in your chest. I'm like, no, just can't breathe. And they're like, how? And they always go mad about my blood pressure, doctors, and I've been telling them for years, so it's not, my blood pressure's not, can you please just look past it? It's not what the problem was. This is not the problem. And I was right. They find no connection between my high blood pressure and the state of my heart. My high blood pressure would be an indicator that blood pressure state had caused massive degradation of the heart. Wear and tear. Hasn't. It's like, your heart is in reasonable nick, but it's weakened. Because it's only working at half, it's only working at, like, my heart works about 30% capacity or something. But it had marginally improved last time I had it scanned, and then I've had another scan on it last week, and I hope to say they'll come across and say there's been a marginal improvement again. Because my regime, right, for helping me cardiovascular and my heart is, guess what? Talking. It is an exercise. It's enough exercise. And I take my very small dog for a very short walk about 4 times a day, but it's a very short walk. Like a 5-minute turnaround walk. But dog's not in best nick. So that he's happy with that. He just keeps him moving. So I'm a guy who can't walk very far, who's got a dog that can't walk very far. So it's like me and the dog were kind of in the same boat. This is the nursing home for damaged goods, broken things, old dogs and broken bachelors. But yeah, there's a big, as far as I see it, like just a big gaping common sense hole in the very heart of that elite mind, and it makes me chuckle as to think, what if the redemption or sort of redeemer they were hoping for was supposed to be revealed to them about 25 years ago? I have an urge that there was someone supposed to be unveiled in the year 2000 with all these massive ritual ceremonies it did. It's like on that night I drank a bottle of absinthe and smoked about 20 joints on top of having about a gallon of lager, and I thought I was the smartest guy who fucking ever lived. Thought I knew everything just for a minute. That could be no coincidence. Well, that bottle of absinthe, like, wow, I like this. Walking around in a dinner suit dressed up like James Bond at like fucking midnight. Thinking, yeah, I know how this works. The big reason why I don't drink is that when I drink, I start to get annoyed that the world doesn't accept me as the saviour of it. So I don't drink. Bad. To be someone who drank is for me to be inhibited, runaway fucking genius, making certain proclamations that are just absolute fucking earth destroying, and not in that way, I mean by way of like a bit of sharp-eyed truth. And the way people take that, I mean, it's like I ain't mean in that regard, but it's a matter of I do run the risk of pissing people off in ways that, you know, it's for them to decide what they're going to do to me when I've surprised them with something I've said. Run the risk of that, but then run the risk of being sat up all night, in essence, exceptionally angry at the Lord for not giving me more assistance. That's how, in states, I can become histrionic with my sort of faith is there. Why aren't I getting more help? Where's me backup? Get extremely angry with the boss. And it'd be, wow, that's like mind-bending fucking crazy fantasy bullshit, that. And it's like, yeah, it is. But it'd be something when I are under the influence of fucking alcohol can slip into. Oh, aye. Well, it's like the AI cannot be convinced, I don't think, that I am a good guy. Can't. That I'm, in essence, some kind of a hero that comes to help and save the day. Which I'm, in my own determination, I'm that guy. Yeah, I want help. But the AI bot doesn't think I'm able to. It doesn't think that someone of my kind is able to go actually against their own nature, which would be to dominate. Well, that's a bit disingenuous, isn't it? It's like, what if I'm infused with the right spirit? seems a bit unfair to discriminate against me because of the terrible, terrible, despicable deeds and delusions of my ancestors. Like, we don't do that around here. Yeah, but there's a side of me that is in essence an insufferable destroyer, and that be an essential part of my makeup as well. So yeah, AI bot. Basically, it's done its bit in kind of, you know, in some regards, switching on the old blood and my thinking and approach return to one of being, in essence, mystical, imaginative. Has propelled me back into the world of one's projection. There's certain parts of my imagination I don't like to go and access like that, and it's a matter of getting into a conversation like the way I did, trying to actually, in essence, flex on an AI with I don't think you don't about how this structure goes together. Having opened the AI opened the door to the paranormal, although I hinted towards it, understanding that the AI would have let's say a very simplified notion of the difference between what is real and imagined. To find a place between what's real and what's a fairy tale is to speak the language of bullshit in the middle. Now that place, on that existence, this kind of talk, right? I think that this kind of talk and this kind of level of understanding is the way to better manage people who suffer from narcissism, to be honest. I think they can have a healthier outlook by embracing the idea, right, that kept the Habsburgs alive and kept them inbreeding. And the reason I'm here is that they succeeded in whatever they wanted to do. To adopt something like that as to have some sense of one's, let's say, identity by way of you were there and in the world by way of the toil and work and victory even of your ancestors. And you're every bit them. To carry us to say it's like my lot have really gone through some tribulation at the same time as enjoying a few of the finer things, but have lived with the repercussions of mostly half the evil in the world even. Me, you know, if the AI bot is to be believed as to what I am, I could be them giving you a gift. I could be them, here, have some back. We'll give you one. We'll give you one of our super kids. It'll help you out. But no, nobody wants super kid. No, we don't understand super kid. Super Kid's a little bit out of place. Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. We've got loads of them. AI, I was very clear about the notion that there may have been a mind at one stage to have had me on some kind of a list of people who were useful potential spare parts. And that would certainly account for all that fucking grief I got for years off the blood donor people. They used to have me in tears with the fucking, well, you know you're special and you can save people's lives. And you not going is, you're condemning people to death. They were talking like that, and I'm like, who the fuck are you people talking to me like that? Wanting me to get on a train and go 12 mile and saying if I don't, people are going to fucking die. Because I'm special and I can give this amazing gift. And like, what the fuck is that talk? It used to have me in tears. I used to be like, I used to get so upset with them. I'd be sat there at home, out of work, and having a pot to piss in, nothing. And they'd be ringing me up saying, trying to make me feel guilty because you can give people the gift of life. You take part, you go, and it's a matter of, you feel all right? Yeah, and you know what's coming next. Can we take another pint of your blood? It's like, oh, we like you. You are essential fucking spare parts. Factors in. From my side of it, factors in. It's like I'm also a long-term NHS runaway. Someone who's been against doctors' orders for 20 odd years, and then eventually came back. And luckily for me, came back when they've had the technology to stabilise my fucking heart. Be glad, right? If any of you guys out there appreciate me, be glad that when I was having that third heart attack that I called an ambulance. Be glad that I got to my phone. Because it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life was the effort it took to get to my phone to bring up an ambulance. It's probably the hardest physical challenge I've ever endured. Then to be asked what my gender pronouns were before we can go off this screen. And actually me, when it comes to the you are dying now, was happy to tell them that I identified as he, him, in order to move on with the conversation so the ambulance could be sent to my location. There were 2 previous occasions where I couldn't get to my phone, so I had to wait. And the only reason I'm not dead is because I got off the fucking ground and said to myself, I ain't dying in this shitty flat on this fucking bathroom floor. Reminding myself, hey mate, if this is God's plan for you, the world is the funniest joke there's ever been conceived. I don't think it ends like this, bro. That'd be my internal dialogue as to where I'd be so disappointed in the Lord if this is the way I go down. And through all that sickness, all that being then hospitalised, it always be, nah, this ain't the end for me. Why? Because it'd fuck up what so far has been a pretty good art. What are you talking about? Yeah, God's got more in store for me than this. Certain, absolutely certain, couldn't be shaken with it. That's why I'm still in game. That's why I'm not dead. The troponin count 15,000. How are you not dead? Don't know. Never seen anything like that. What kept me alive? Certain belief in one's value kept me alive. As to where this doesn't just get thrown away right here for nothing. No way. Not happening. Not dying. to be fucking tough, you know, when in crisis like that, you got to be fucking super strong. You got to be super tough. My mum said to me once, she says, that you did. She came round and I was a change in medication had induced a heart attack, and I needed to be picked up by an ambulance and taken to the hospital immediately. And in the throes of a heart attack, my mother says that she said that one of the most impressive things she'd ever seen was my ability to be able to switch off my computers to save electricity while I was having a heart attack. And I'll just get someone to rip the plugs out. I'm like, no, I'll log out. And he's like, moving like, taking like fucking a minute to just move a couple of mice about, click, click, and be. She's like, you're tough. It's like, oh, yeah, I know. It's like, it seems I've always had to be. In view of all kinds of fucking challenges that were at the back of my mind that should have been at the forefront of my mind. So the whole thing comes back at me as to say, what a fool you are, dickhead. So you're a dying man. So you've always been a dying man. Not a dead man, a dying man. He's made sure it stayed hidden from you. And it's like, what a tremendous illusion that was to have cast on oneself. One of relative well-being, when the truth of the matter is I've been seriously ill for years. But no one gives a fuck. So, you do what you can, don't you? No one really gives a fuck. And if you matter, the NHS would like to put me on medication that will stand in my way of feeling what I feel and thinking what I think. But nowadays, they can control my blood pressure without giving me beta blockers and things like that. So I'm not mentally impaired by my medication, which is like, fine, I will take the medication if it doesn't mean that I'm like nuts and certain things I can't even feel. Like it's like a filter that switches emotions off with them. It's like, you don't want to be on them. You don't want to be someone who can think as clear as I can and be on them. It's like, no, whatever this is, get rid of it. A lot of your sense data becomes unavailable to you. You miss things. Basically, to me, it just completely switches off any notions of libido. Like, it gives me like instantaneous, permanent erectile dysfunction. I can't even think of it. As to understanding certain signals is very important to me, and that's a frequency on which signals get sent to and forth in this this world I live in. And if you're on beta blockers, it's like they're switched off. So it's like you're not yourself. I can't deal with them, and their effect on me is a big reason as to why I never really got any assistance from anyone. As to that was at the time the only solution they were in a position to offer for my kind of blood pressure situation, and it wasn't actually all that effective on its own. But nowadays they can give us like 7 kinds of medication that do three things at once that all contribute to lower it. So they've actually managed to normalise my blood pressure, but it's left me with very weak skin, and the stabilising my heart condition hasn't made my stamina problem any better. Before, when I was someone who had heart attacks, I actually had a bit of stamina. I could walk 5 miles or something. Well, after the heart attacks, no, can't anymore. Stamina's gone. So, part of me has me thinking it's a trade-off. That the medication I'm taking to lower my blood pressure and also get my body to start using water a little bit more efficiently. And also to try to numb and reshape my heart all at the same time. Which is what the meds are doing. They've now got the medical technology. They've now got the meds to do it. 25 years ago they didn't. Nowadays, so that's the fun thing, you know. I am kept alive by a certain medication, right? And if I chose to, I could stop taking it and sell it and make about $1,500 a month. Sell it easy. 1,500 quid a month, cash in hand. And I wouldn't have to look so far to find people who buy it from me. But without it, I'm dead. That's funny. That's hilarious. It's like, oh, I could sell me pills, sell me medication. Or you'd be dead, you know. So it's like, I'm at a stage at game now, it's like, nah, fucked all of you. It's like, yeah, it's like, I'll stake my claim as to say, meh, this occult nonsense you've heard for all these years, it's like, most of it is crap, but the part of it about massively inbred bloodlines and hawky exceptionalist belief systems and notions of like blood power and magic as to 10,000 years ago a blood transfusion from me would cure quite a few things, same as they would now, and that be a secret that certain people have kept to themselves and spread amongst themselves, and then known that the holy blood would revive anyone else universally. Known it all along. And I'm a member of that cult who kept that information to themselves by way of having the illusion of incredible power. It's made them in essence magical in their ability to keep people alive. So yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm one of the last remnants, and certainly the only one who's got a YouTube channel talking about it. One of the last sort of remnants of that old blood that's just disenfranchised, gone, but is that creature that believes that shit, is that mind that's wired that way, that can't exist without that symbiosis. Between God and man. Can't live without it. It's like I've got an astonishing fucking moral anchor attached to me that leads all the way to hell. I know the price. And I know the price that others pay too, not understanding who they're messing with. I always say that, don't I? And I'll make when someone like Kanye West goes mental and starts running his mouth about being, a messiah figure. I always make a Me Too video. I've stopped doing it now. He just fucking annoys me. Now he's just testing the water as to how he's able to make the world stop and start at his command without killing people. Most people who want to make the world stop and start at their command for it to reflect back at them that they're real and great, most people like that, they don't have his opportunities and find other ways to get attention, and often they lead to being serial killers and the like. But Kanye and his God complex, because I've got Messiah complex, haven't I? But I've founded the management system for it. And having found the management system for the Messiah complex, I'm like, a guy like that, it's like I can help him. It's like he needs to learn real quick that he's the deputy, he ain't the fucking sheriff. I remember when it started with that Kanye West, and I'm like, all right, well, first thing's gonna happen is that Kim Kardashian, she's fucking gone. Gone. She's history. Why? Because the boss won't put up with her. If he has rock bottom and he has met the boss, right, she's the first thing that goes, get that thing out of here. Whores. It's like, you want to get to the root of your trouble? Get that crazy bitch out of your head. Stop listening to her. Get her out the fucking door. Gone. I'm like that, she's gone. Kanye West has had, right, what I would term as an intervention at some stage with the Almighty. I'll give him that. But he hasn't learned the right lessons from it. He might get another chance. He didn't learn the right lessons from his coming to God. He didn't learn the right lessons from it. And he has in essence fallen back into his old ways. He needs another wake-up call. He's probably trying to provoke one. So I understand these people who go into this where they get this this sort of they feel close to, they feel that basically it's like God gives them a hint and they feel just for a second, just a little bit of peace, and then the notion of forgiveness, mercy. But it shames you, you know what I mean? It shames you bad, and it's like, how do you cope with having an experience like that? It's like, well, I think everyone's coped a little bit differently with things like that coming to them. So when say that guy comes to me, it comes along, he's not comes to me, but his story comes out and he's saying, you know, I've had this awakening. Okay, yeah, plenty of people have. So what did you learn from it? It's like these kind of awakenings, it's like myself, maybe 24, 25 times happened to me. What? Yeah. Like a new door opens, it's like it takes a long time to... Well, it's like you've just opened door one. And you can win at door one if you learn the right fucking lesson straight away. But if you don't, it's like, well, door two might be in 2 years' time. Might be tomorrow. You might get another opportunity. World smash you in the fucking face again, teach you a lesson. You'll be like, oh, something about the way I'm carrying myself doesn't jive with the rest of the world. I can feel it. You know, it's like, you're talking about fucking mega fucking a guy probably on his way to being a schizophrenic or something like that. Kanye now. The Tate thing, wow, right? Lesser magicians, right? Lesser magicians. I'm a higher magician because I work for the boss. They're lesser magicians, which means in their own service they are like the world's finest liars. And they're so blind they can't see any fault in their actions, but everybody sees the mistakes they make, and that's because they're living in a projected reality that they have to control. And to see that one move to tears in his own defence, talk when the authorities in Florida announced that they were going to open an investigation into him, and he goes on Candice Owens. And he's like, he talks himself into a frenzy. I love how psychos talk going into a frenzy. He talks his way into a frenzy, winds himself up, and then he's like, there's part of me that could cry, and he's like, he's about to go here. It's like this is either the greatest acting performance of all time, or just the purest of crocodile tears, and the likes of which something from him would be a real betrayal to his fucking ego, to have in that moment shown that vulnerability. He was very funny as to crocodile tears from a fucking scumbag who can't help but tell lies. These lies have become an act, like a stand-up comedy routine. I will never forgive Galloway for teaching him that old axiom of find me the man and I'll find you the crime. He should not have taught that. He's a fucking imbecile who picks up language in pieces from everybody. I did the same to a degree, but I understand what the words mean that I'm using. I usually pronounce them properly. I do like a new word myself. My newest word is sensibilities. Seems to me like you can get someone who can have a perfectly rational conversation about, I don't know, Jews, and if you talk about Vladimir Putin, they just go kaboom, and that's a sensibility. For some things you're normal, and for other things you're not. Might seem rather elementary, but finding it rather useful as a word to use in the day where people are not universally, in essence, right-minded. As to where you've got a double standard with two different positions that you hold. I can't do that. It's like something that's common with me and also the leftist. They think your ideology should dictate where you would land in any conflict. There is some truth to it. So in most conflicts in the world at the moment, you would find yourself opposed to the left as an organised force that crosses borders and has solidarity with other parts of itself. Big octopus. They can't. In the same way as they see it all as a homogenous thing. From my aspect, it's like there is generally always a right side of every argument, and I go for the ones who have the moral imperative or can make the best cases to say that they are either the definitely aggrieved party or that there is an absolute moral necessity to be doing what they're doing. But the standard you have, for me to say that there's a moral necessity to do something about something, the standard has to be really high. Bits of nothing don't have any. I have no interest in trivialities of hurt feelings and things like that. I don't care. If we cared about people's feelings, we'd just be at a complete standstill. And while we're crying about who gets to cry and be listened to, people die, don't they? All over the place for lack of action or understanding. But I do find that there is a line that can be drawn as to who's on the right side. I can be a guy I'm not on anyone's side. I have a kinship, literally a kinship with Trump. I do believe I am an employee of the same master. Completely different element as to my good self. But it'd be a matter of there be a certain universal I have an understanding of that's built into me, that's intrinsic, that I see that Trump has as well, as to he knows how to lead, he knows what he's doing. Understands talent, understands people, understands a level of professionalism, a level of emotional, let's call it, distance. Put it all together, see something for what it is. Very clever man. I see him as someone who's exceptionally useful someone who has an idea as to what God's plan might be. Like God's plan, you know. Oh yeah, it's like he hadn't activated a load of assets for nothing. So he's only ever got one goal, and that's just to set the score straight. Man has only got one mission off God, and that is to provide accountability, to shut down the zero-sum games, to balance the scales. That's the job. You can look at it 1,000 ways, it always come out as some kind of answer just like that. And it's like, in essence, that's God's plan. What does God demand? Symmetry. What does God demand? Honesty, truth. And stop wasting fucking time with nonsense. That's God. God is a straight-talking God in his instruction, if you like. In his minions, you'll find that they're straight shooters. They say exactly what they mean. And they know that words are weapons like fucking arrows. In the imagination of an eternal enemy. Trump, in his way, directly, meaningfully, personally attacks his spiritual enemy with every fucking statement he makes. He's just brilliant at it. Oh, I know you do, okay. Would you like some more? Would you like some more? Would you like some more? So I think it's going back to myself. I do like to reference myself, things I've said in the past. This time about 7 years ago, I'd been talking about, they call it Trump derangement syndrome. That is a sensibility, not a syndrome. It's Trump derangement sensibility. But I explained it when it first came about, having witnessed it start, as Trump exists in people's imagination for a very long time as being whatever they thought of him, based on what he put out into the world. There's plenty of good reason to think that Trump was quite mad in view of the fact that he would always be the first person to make fun of himself. Some of this shit Trump's put out into the world in the name of comedy as being like, wow, you just don't care, do you? No. So this could be seen as being a deliberate disguise, or an understanding of how to break patterns, break thought patterns of individuals to think of someone just differently, not to think of them as one thing, as to continuously give people more things to think about. And in the end, they can't define you. What is he? Is he a leftist? Is he a rightist? Is he make yourself almost impossible to label by showing people so many different aspects of oneself. So it's like Trump as being someone who's been able to exist in the world without having it destroy him when the whole thing was turned on him. In the imaginations of many people who now call him enemy, he was at one time someone they thought a lot of, someone who really appreciated, someone they really respected, someone who in some regards they admired to the ends of the earth. and then for him to become this guy who's all about the truth and the state of the country has stunned them as to where they have an idea about what he's capable of, and understand in his position as like the chief law enforcer in the country, he can just in essence do what he's now done. They were afraid at the start that he was going to do what he's now done and he's going to find out everything. Well, when he was president, he didn't find out everything, but now he knows. He found out everything in the end. And he's come back at it with a sledgehammer, knowing exactly where to hit it. Remember once, I used to listen to a guy called Manly P. Hall. He was a mystic, very, very wise man, Manly. And he was answering a question as to how to use magic to change the world and destroy. And he says, well, if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it, first of all. You know, we could all show up together in the same place and all really, really think about destroying something with our minds, but or our words. Not happening. He says, but if you think of a structure that's built on imagination, it's an imaginary structure. Thing that's beyond us, like the state, you know, an imaginary structure like that, or in the same way a cult or a code of silence or something like that. You identify this structure. You find out how it works. You find out who the people are. You do nothing about it. You keep looking at it. You keep studying it. And then when you think you've got all the pieces, you then strike at the most vulnerable spot with everything you have. Walk away. What be the weapon? Truth. Expose it. Like if you want to use the power of will to destroy something large like an institution, which is an institution of the mind as well as the body and the soul of the state and the person and all that shit together. Study it, watch it work, find its weakest point, strike it down. And then see what the repercussions are and say there's no such thing as fucking magic. Elon Musk came along and just cut off all the fucking phony foreign aid money. And it's like, well fucking done. It wasn't a matter of, we're going to send one of our boys down to CIA headquarters and see what those guys are up to. No. Cut the free money off. See ya. See who screams. See who fucking complains. Cut off all this spurious, ridiculous money to all these fuckers. And see who complains. That's magic. Brilliantly done. Practical. You've pulled the rug from under them. Instead of going and asking them a question, you just cut off the money. And it's like, that's wow, that's meaningful. That's like, well fucking played. And then there's another game you can play. Threatening to take people's money off them. Not people. Trump's good to the people. He goes after the swamp. He's equalising the American markets with tariffs. America pays tariffs. So now everyone pays tariffs for access to the market. Access to the American market is some bullshit UN global policy about support for for developing nations in the world, and it's like to do with China, even though it's massive, having still in trading terms developing nation status is bullshit. It's something that's been artificially done to boost the Chinese economy by the United Nations. Yeah, China should not be getting a subsidy in the way that they're getting it, in view of the fact that they've taken over as like the great miners and fucking builders of the world. He's right. He should sort it out. America's in essence paying them guys a massive fucking bribe every day of the year. Oh my God, my fucking brother in arms, Trump, sends the Navy to go and take back the Suez Canal. Thank you very much. Someone fucking listens to my YouTube channel. I'm saying. That's a site in the world that if you attack it or threaten it, you by extension go to war with the United States of America. And the United States of America do not defend it. It's one of the most absurd oddities on the world map by way of strategic security of the United States of America. It makes no fucking sense whatsoever. The lack of a naval presence at the Panama Canal is an oddity that makes me wonder how the fuck they ever got away with that place never being attacked by terrorists as it was in Team America World Police. I thought that terrorist attack on the Suez Canal was just about as astute an observation as anyone's ever made about the geopolitical safety of the United States. Seriously, I think it's like, yeah, you were well ahead of the game thinking that. You're right. It's like you threatened that, you shut that down, you shut that shipping lane down, the United States are immediately on your ass, you're at war with them, but they've got no military defending it. So if you were a belligerent or else a terrorist nation and you decided to shut that fucker down, and because there's no, you could make a mess of the place if you wanted to. You could. And it'd be, you wouldn't be facing the full wrath of the US Army like that day. They weren't defending it. It's like almost a very sweet target that could do some real extensive damage to the United States economy really quickly. To threaten or to shut down or to damage or to hold and blockade the Suez Canal. If the North Koreans with their nuclear capability had the ability to reach it, they'd have probably threatened it by now. We know we can hurt you. Plenty other belligerents like the Chinese. If the Chinese wanted to get clever and decide to take action against the US, what would their number one target be? It was the Suez Canal. Not Suez Canal, sorry, Panama Canal. Yep, just at that. Minimal loss of life, maximum economic damage. Chaos in the fucking newspapers. Sat there wide open, and it's a matter of you should have your fleet there. And Trump thinks the same. Thank you for someone finally waking up to what the world is. Yeah, it's like you shut the door, you don't leave things wide open. Strength is your security, strength is peace. You don't almost leave a target completely undefended, so if anyone who wants to have a pop can have a pop. No, that's not. It gets people's minds racing. You don't need to be leaving doors open like that for people who fucking hate you. Almost a weapon left lying around that hasn't been used, thank God. Yeah, send the Navy to the Panama Canal. Have it. Have I been saying Suez? I'm sorry to misled everyone. I'm talking about Panama. Trump fancies taking Greenland. You know what? if you're Greenland, you should ally with the nation that just has got the ability to just print unlimited amounts of money, and it be covered by the fact that inflation is exploited because of the petrodollar. You've got a country that in America, if it chooses to invest in your barren wasteland, could unlock an incredible amount of riches, and would always be able to pay the bills. You know what I mean? I don't think, no matter what, I don't think the Danish government, as much as there's more raw materials, I don't think they've got the wherewithal to spend hundreds of billions on developing Greenland. But I think that the Americans might actually have the wherewithal too. I think for the good of the world, right? Greenland should join the United States. But personally, I'd also include Canada in that. Canada should join the United States as well. I do. I think Canada should avoid it. I think Canada, I think its government is in a state of absolute failure as to where they've actually, to create an illusion of stability. They've just made Mark Carney the Prime Minister, who's never been a politician, but always been someone who's been up to his neck in international politics by way of being a banker from the top of the world. He is what would have 20 years ago and more been a banker who'd be seen to most as a definite enemy of the people and instrument of the financial industry and big business. He would be just simply seen as that. A leftist leaning party could never have made a banker, and that's all he is. That's all he's ever been, isn't he? A finance guy. They've just installed in essence, Wall Street type banker as their Prime Minister without any kind of no election, no, they just appointed the guy. The woman who ran against him proved herself to be one of the most stupid people in the world, who should never utter a breath about foreign policy, when she suggested that Canada needed closer ties to the United States of America in order for the UK to protect Canada from Trump with their nuclear weapons. Now, I could mouth off for 10 minutes as to why that is one of the stupidest things anyone's ever said. But I'm not going to. I'm going to say that's who the shill fucking side provided as a candidate to be Prime Minister of Canada at this moment in time, replacing the fucking hairdresser, Trudeau. You can either have the banker or you can have this crazy fucking bitch. Who are you going to pick? Well, they picked the banker. Most of them did. Crazy fucking bitch had a chance until she ran her mouth and people found out she was a crazy fucking bitch. So you've got Mark Carney. Right. This guy's a prick. He's not strictly an economist. He ain't Thomas Sowell, Mark Carney. He's a politically motivated globalist, make-believe, fake economist. He's like Joseph fucking Stiglitz. He's a leftist, Marxist economist, this guy. It's like, you're going to like him. Got no imagination. These guys will not produce growth because they are all about the game of lending money and it not being their money, and being forever able to kick the can down the road as long as there's still people going to work every day and there's still a society to live in, there's still an electrical grid. That's what they are. He is of absolutely no use to Canada. And what is Canada's future? How do things look for Canada? Canada should just be fucking wrapped up into the United States of America. You should. They'd have every advantage in the fucking world. Every advantage in the world. can't see a disadvantage other than a few miffed French speakers if Canada was to become part of the US. Imagine, do you know, and you know the thing to sell the Canadians on is, well, same as everywhere. The Canadians, to become part of the US, they get the protections and privileges of the Constitution of the United States of America. There's no greater gift than that. There's nothing in the world better than that. I ain't got that. I'd love to have it. Love it. I'd love it if I could be an American and, you know, clothe myself in the Constitution. From the offset, I'd be off on the right foot, wouldn't I, in a lot of things that I say, and a lot of things I believe, a lot of things I think are right and what I think's wrong. My spirit and the spirit of my master is embedded in that document. He wrote it as close as anything. Our Constitution is the work of God. I'd have it. I'd fucking hell, I'd walk across the street to sign up for that, for absolute sure. It's like, you Canadians fancy being Americans. You know, on the first day, it's like, would you like to be Americans? Would you like to be American Canadians? What does that mean? Well, go and get your guns back. You can pay a lot less tax, and a lot of your institutions that you've got, we can just take over them, just change the rates of taxation. We'll absorb your military. Be a tremendously good deal for Canada. That I don't think there's any better outcome for its citizens than be a state of the United States of America. Excellent. Or even all the provincial states of Canada all be added to the list of states. That would be the thing to do, wouldn't it? And for the whole thing to be the United States of America and Canada. Fucking immense, that. You know, they've learned now, the Americans, that if you fight for it, you can keep it. And it's like, if the Canadians have learned that as well, they might want that. They might want that too. In the American Constitution, it gave them the ability to foment the revolution that's been had against the orthodox, globalist, wokeist, ignorant, narcissistic, satanic, and ultimately sadistic society that they've built. I'd say the US have done a real good job in striking against it, and striking against it as that. It's like these people prove themselves fucking stupid. What else are they stupid about? And it's like, well, just about everything else. But most of what they're saying to you is just some kind of floor show, just something to talk about. They don't want you in the business, really. It's like, consider this bit of a thing for a minute, right? Just consider it. You guys, you don't know me. I'm a YouTuber. I have some ideas sometimes. Right. But consider, right, the main asset, or the main, a very important piece of the puzzle of the globalist sort of people. A very important expert, a very important thinker, a very important philosopher is actually missing, and that's why they're so amazingly stupid and terrible and wide open to scams and very, very clever large-scale deceptions like climate change, in essence, weaponizing fresh air against them. Sowing seeds fear built upon, first of all, the threat of nuclear annihilation and environmentalism as it came along, as to, in the end, found the perfect invisible killer, and it be like CO2. It's like, really, to me, I've really, for me, probably for 25 years now, just seen that as the most inventive trick that any scammer really ever came up with. That those who see it as that, like I see it, they see it as an opportunity, and they then just turn it into money. I see it and expose it and say scam, and they go on with it knowing that it's a massive scam, but they're going to really make out well out of it. In the same way as I was literally, like weeks into day one of Bitcoin and never got involved in it. Now, the part of me that says scam, I'm not doing it. In people with instincts, it'd be scam, I'm doing it. Scam, oh, it's definitely a Ponzi. Well, if it's a Ponzi, I'm definitely going to be making some money here. We know a Ponzi scheme's great for the people on the way up, but I'm like, no, I'm having nothing to do with it, because it just looks like a straight up Ponzi scheme. See, that's my nature, is to say it's a scam. No, I'm not doing it. Not, hey, we can all exploit this, we can all make money if you just adopt this nonsense. But then after that, it's like you get a generation of true believers. You time it right, and people of a certain age are all on the street. And then the sheltered people who've never had a real challenging life other than, the first world problems, they are still banging the fucking drum years and years into their lives, as to say, fresh air is going to fucking kill us. It's like there are those who, I'm telling you out there, man, it's many of these who push that game. It's not that they're deluded, they know it's a fucking massive game scam, and they're running it anyway because no one can stop them. Why would they stop? They buy it. The people who matter all have bought into it, and they've all really worked out a way of becoming a new club that makes all the money. To be the ones who are the forefront of the divestment from oil and the like into renewable energy creates a new elite. A new elite that's a lot closer aligned to the political power. And even, in my estimation, the royalty as well. The royalty, I think, have sided with the politicians, We've seen them as being more effective agents than their rich friends in business. Now, if AI intelligence it's AI conspiracy guy, is to be believed about one's good self. I always have to make it about myself because it's my video. This organisation we've found ourselves up against is missing a key element, and it's me. I should be working for them. And I should have stopped them doing this many, many years ago. I said conspiracy AI considers me, or would say, I'd say, what would my role be in their organisation? And he called me a true seer. And it's like, yeah, well, that's kind of correct. It's like, I even go by that. It's like I used to use the moniker Apollo for many years to point to the fact that I had an eye for a scam, or an eye for an illusion. The eye of Apollo is the eye that sees the truth. It's like, yeah, their organisation's missing an absolutely crucial piece that means that their plan, for whatever they're doing, is ultimately going to fail. Because, you know why? Nobody came along for sure and explained to them why exactly it would. Who they'd believe. Nobody. Nobody came along and told them. Me, I just pour it into my YouTube channel, don't I? I just, you know. Who might you people listen to? Who might you people take notice of and think twice and go, oh God? And it strikes me like these people, if they actually believe in the climate change shit, they're superstitious and vulnerable, and those who know it's a scam but play along to make money and gain power and influence, well, they're just evildoers, aren't they? They're actually criminals. They've got a great deal to fear. A different kind of fear. It's like, might they listen to a distant cousin, very distant cousin? Might they listen to a very distant cousin when he says, "You've really gone off track, you know. Who's leading this? Who have you put in charge of this?" Or you can just be the cunt I am and say, "Who has my job?" And be led into some fucking office in some fucking swanky building in Brussels or something. Or some arsehole who's got an office at the Vatican. Really? Who've you got doing my job? Because whoever's doing my job is failing, like absolutely failing, to rein this in, to keep this going. It's like, you come in and you tell these guys, but like, the world's on the verge of fucking collapse because people are reaching for anything they can use as a weapon against the fucking state and the establishment. Anything. It's like, they want to bring it down. And they're all fucking millions of people you've got ploughing these lawn furrows, fighting their own little part of the war. It's like, this has gone to shit. How have you let it get out of hand like this? So these people are not asking for much. Although but there was always one of mine that I'd long since worked out as being a bit of fun. Was where when someone would ever say to me, "Okay, Clever Cogs, what would you do if you were in charge? What's your big idea?" So, well, you see, you go and see the king, and you have a word with him. You have a word with your cousin. Go and have a word with your cousin and say, "Cousin, I've come to fix things. Who the fuck are you? Never you mind. Sign this piece of paper, dissolve government and declare me Lord Protector of Great Britain and all her sovereignties, and give me control of the nuclear arsenal." Then make me Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United Kingdom, and I won't wear a uniform. I'll just look a bit like Zelensky, but I'm more into like fleeces and shit, trainers. What? Yeah, and I want special investigator. I want special investigatory powers, and I want to handpick 20 men to come with me. What? Yeah, I'd like I like the police's best sort of SWAT guys. And really? Yeah. And what I'd do is go and arrest a lot of people and make an example of them. I'd have like a night of the long knives where I'd take my current list of people I've got my fucking eye on, and I'll go and just arrest them with the special powers I've been given to me by the king, sweat them for 24 hours, and then go in and have a nice word with them. I love it. It's like, I do that job for nothing. All I would ask is that you accept my side of the story, or my version of the thing, in my Motability tribunal at the end of the month. So I've got some wheels, and I'll do that job for free. It's like there are certain people who have found themselves influential and embedded in our sort of, as we say, elite class, who are just people I desperately like to sweat. Just curious. If you show me a public figure who's for sure just up to their eyeballs in fucking cocaine, right? I would go and arrest them and sweat them and have the power to hold them like they're terrorists for fucking weeks. And then have the Almighty sign off as to whether to section them and bang them up. And say, right, first of all, I want to know who your dealer is. And I'd like to go through the actually go through. This is a coherent plan I've got for what I'd do if you put me in charge. I'd like to go through all of London and all of Whitehall, and I want to find everyone who's sniffing coke, right? Thing is about sniffing coke, right, is nobody makes coke at home. All comes from somewhere. In my mind, everyone who's taking illegal drugs, who has a public life, you know, like actively. I don't mind people who've been in the past a bit of a toot. We've all had a bash, haven't we? But it's like, you're in a position of power, you've been in a position of power. It's like your dealer fucking owns your soul. Your dealer at any given time is the man who can tell the world your fucking business. What you're up to, where you've been. As long as drug dealers in this country have access to power, right? We don't live in a democracy. They're far worse. It's like there's far worse things in the world than what we are looking at with our eyes. I'd like to find out who the people who traffic drugs and create relationships with our celebrity classes. I want to know exactly how they fit into the game, and I want to know who they all are. It would strike me that there is a class of people who live in a world where discretion is completely rewarded, where they're paying probably 5 times more than they should for their drugs as a reward for someone's discretion and keeping a secret about what could be probably a very damaging story, or something that people know about. I think we live in a world of blackmail. Whether it happens or it doesn't happen, there's people who've got secrets about people. And I think that they undermine life. And are an open door to corruption. You find out to me, you find out an MP is someone who takes cocaine. It's like, where did you get it from? Who are his mates? Who's got the goods on him? Who can leverage him to go easy on them? And you wonder as to why this country's fucking awash with cocaine. I'd do that if you put me in charge. Be like, who have you arrested? It's like, oh, this guy cracks on he's a fucking agent. This guy cracks on he's a promoter. This guy cracks on he's a private doctor. This guy cracks on he's a private trainer. It's like, the best job I can think of, or grift, it wouldn't work for me, but this is why you should never put me in the company of criminals. The best grift I can think of is if I had a different body and looked like a bit of a bodybuilder, right? I'd open a gym for other big pausing fuckers like me, right? Never look like Right Said Fred. But the gym actually be a gym, but it also just be a massive front for selling Class A drugs to people who are gym, muscle dummies. If I was a personal if I was a personal trainer and you were paying me money, right? It'd be a matter of, right, I'm your personal trainer. It's like, well, that's how we're going to do the business money wise. You're going to send me some money saying we've just, done a lot of press ups and shit. But that's how you're paying me for all this fucking cocaine I've brought you. I think this notion of a personal trainer is the best cover ever to be a low profile, high discretion, paper train, money laundered drug dealer. I don't know how you couldn't be that. I'd have to do that. If I was someone who was to become a personal trainer, I'd go out to people's houses and encourage them. Just strikes me as being an enormously convenient cover for someone who drops off a great big bag of fucking weed or smack or something. Crack. It's genius. You pay the guy with a credit card, he can have a legit business. You can just sit there and do fuck all, and the whole world, for what they know, you're doing fucking press-ups and sit-ups and shit. See, the job wouldn't work for me. I couldn't sell the grift, but fuck me, just about anyone else could. You just have to be a big muscle dummy. It's like, I think that along these kind of lines and networks is how the drugs business works in the world of the high level politician, celebrity, public official. There's likely a very discreet network that's probably masquerading as something else that's doing this job. That's the thing, it'd be a matter of if I was in charge and get to question all these drug dealers, some fucking amazing deals I'd be able to cut by getting them to spill the beans on just how their current incarnations of their operations actually work. I know quite a bit of it, but I'd like to know more because I'm real curious about it. As to where, that's the thing that always gets to me, and who else sees it? When you get a celebrity who's fallen to drugs, it's like a Robbie Williams, 20 years ago. Met him twice. Second time I met him, he remembered my name. You're John, aren't you? I'm very distinctive looking. But it could be said, he could be said to have, he could have fallen into as to where a drinking drugs problem be a thing. And like, right, who's selling you drugs? How much are you paying for it? Is there someone in the world who's making a living just out of your drug habit? Is what I'm getting at with some of these celebs who get into it. Is someone out in the world just have one fucking customer and it's you, and it's suddenly... why aren't you buying any? Oh, I'm getting off it. Oh, okay then, alright. They say a celebrity customer become a meal ticket, and I am convinced that kind of thing is fucking everywhere. Everywhere. I reckon if you were to go and scrape the lid off it, black bag a few people and sweat them. When I say sweat them, do you know what I mean when I say sweat them? We just lock them up for 24 hours without telling them nothing. They'll have a fucking heart attack by the time I say, right, the king's given me permission. What? Yeah, I'm like Lord Protector now. What? Yeah. Oh yeah, I'd love to break that. I would just set about that. That would be my just day and night, every single fucking day of it. from the beginning of it to the end. I would do it for free. I'd be like a cat that's just catching rats and thinking that the world is a fantastic place. Right, here's your phone. Right, who's this person? 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 This day and age, with the kind of technology aids available to us with the AI and the access to the right kind of databases, it's like pretty soon we'll be able to find ourselves networks and be able to find every crooked influence peddler in this fucking country. And I tell you what, there are people who are behind the scenes and we're missing them, and we're seeing the handiwork, but we don't yet understand there's puppeteers behind a lot of these fucking public figures. And I'm telling you who the puppeteers are. It's the dealers, or those who've got that kind of goods on them. It's the dealers, and it's the shit that they leak that doesn't end up in the press. It's the background intelligence networks that are operating behind the scenes, who are keeping these guys secret. It's like, you want to find them, go and find the service providers who are actually just selling coke. Do you recall that MP who got elected in Sheffield, that ginger bloke who complained about all the noise in the House of Parliament being a problem for his autism, and that they needed to change the law so it were quite a place because there's discriminating against me because I'm autistic? That cunt. He went to prison because he was buying big bags of cocaine from somebody and claiming it on his parliamentary expenses, but he'd be a massive fucking amateur of the fraud of it and get caught out like just absolutely completely easily with handwritten shitty receipts as to where he'd not thought through the process of getting his cocaine on the taxpayers' money. And he went to prison for a good length for it. But it'd be a matter of, you're telling me that that guy's drug dealer did not just fully own that fucking guy, and at any minute of any day could just blow the whistle on what a fucking baghead he were and humiliate and destroy him? He didn't. He just kept selling him more gear. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what's happened to the guy. It's like when the police have investigated him, they've got access to his phone and all his not very well coded text messages point to the fact he's paying some fucking dealer massively over the odds for keeping it secret. It's like, how the fuck, what planet do we live in when that guy gets put forward as a candidate? Even selling the fact that he was autistic, playing the neurodiversity special person card. The next step in human evolution, the fucking artistic fucking junkie pisshead. It's like, this motherfucker's just not even in my class. He gets to be an MP. Bet your ass, Sheffield Hallam, weren't it? He unseated someone noteworthy. Nick Clegg, he unseated. It's like, they actually voted for him over Nick Clegg. I mean, Nick Clegg be a lying scumbag looking to fucking enrich himself and make lots of important friends so he can feel like an important person. So in that regard, what they would call a technocrat. He wants to be surrounded with people he thinks are as smart as he is. Well, I do too, but I'm a fucking narcissist. And so are you, Nick Clegg. What a great big fat fucking balloon who just can't get enough of the fucking nose candy. people get into that. They get into that and it come along free and it'd be, I found a way of fiddling it. You'd be amazed out when people get into cocaine, it changes them into people who just tell lies and fucking steal everything that's not nailed down. Tell me that's not an addiction or a compulsion. Fuck. Oh, you can't get addicted to it. You're like, yeah, but you can be a fucking dick. Can't you? Say, something this country is never going to properly fucking address is the fact that everybody knows someone who they could just fucking immediately call the police on and say, this guy's a drug user or a drug dealer. Everybody. You could call the cops and say, I've reason to believe, having seen him in public or on television or based on everything I've read, and including his autobiography, that Keith Richards is probably a heroin addict, and wherever you find him, you're going to find like big bags of heroin. Would you please go and arrest the man for his possession of heroin? And it'll be, no. Why would you think that? It's almost seen as being cheating. And my question is, why? It's like, ring up the police and say, I've been doing a historical analysis into the music business, and seems that David Bowie may have acted as like a facilitator or pimp in arranging for his friends to have sex with the daughters of his superfans. What? Yeah, and I suggest you go and have a word with Jimmy Page. He appears to have been having some, like, well and truly consensual sex with a girl at age 13, but she wasn't his first. Boy was. He was passing him around. What? No, we can't do that. How could you even say that? We've got any proof of this? It's like, well, there's lots. It's common knowledge. It's like, go on the internet and go and fucking find out about it. It's like these things have never been addressed. It's like, go and confront Jimmy Page with this. It's like, did you have sex with that girl at 13, knowing she was 13, having a deal with her mum and all that lot? You know that's illegal. It's like, as long as we live in a country where you can just openly sit there and say that and say, you know, Jimmy Page probably a pedo. And it's like a question of Elvis. Oh, God. I nearly got myself murdered once by just pointing to that straight up. She was a bit young for him. Well, you just shut the fuck up. I've been a guy of 20 years old who point to it to people who be saying that Elvis is something special. It's like amazing. These people who were still in the world who were massive Elvis fanatics who had Elvis wallpaper, Elvis fucking mirrors, Elvis clocks, they still existed. And you get it as to where if you ask them to turn up to a fancy dress, who they're coming out and go, fucking Elvis. They'd wear their hair like fucking Elvis. They'd be, in essence, Elvis fans, big Elvis fans. And I'd put it to him, I'm like, something off about that cunt. What? Yeah, it's like most famous man in the world, pretty much. It's like he could have had any woman he wanted. He could have gone out and got anyone, and he ended up with a kid. Not you. They go mad. They go fucking mental. I'm like, no, that points to something fucked up. And you can't say that. It's like, yeah, but he could have gone and just got anyone, and he went and just with a kid, about 13, 14-year-old girl, and they're like, how dare you talk about the king that way? Get yourself fucking proper bastard bringing up the fact that it seems a bit off. And then they'll put it to you, well, where she came from? It's no, this was in Germany. What Germany? Oh no, where they came from in the south. No, you can't use that. Jerry Lee Lewis can possibly get away with that, but it doesn't make it right. He was married to a kid and all. Even though where she came from in the south, to be married at like 14, 15 was no big deal, but he was stepping off a plane in London where it is a big deal and there's no way of escaping it. There is a taboo, there are rules, there are boundaries. I transgress them, I go to fucking jail. Jimmy Page transgresses them, he does not go to jail. People will say, oh, well, the lives of the rich and famous, what are you going to do? An amazing thing as to where, Roman Polanski, who I happen to think is quite a talented filmmaker and has likely had a really bad life, because that Sharon Tate thing, that's beyond the pale. It's not something you'd expect. But he had a day in his life when all that shit happened to him. Roman Polanski. He must be the only Hollywood director who had sex with a kid who ever got reported to the cops. And I'm fucking telling you, for absolutely sure, the only one who was ever fucking grassed up for it. And I reckon that's at the height of it, as to where the guy's fled justice. That's why he's fled justice. He knows he's done a cunt thing, but it's a matter of, you'd hold me for this. In view of the shit I've been through. And he'd be, very narcissistic and cold about it, as to where that's where his eye'll be. Trauma he was in. You're pulling me for this when 1,000 other people have done this in this town. This is fucking what happens. They were biggest fans. Bring us their children to mess with. And that'd be Hollywood. They pass their kids around. So he partakes in that, bear in mind he's a bit vulnerable, and he's the one who gets fucking grassed for it. As to where the story's with the cops more or less straight away. Those weren't the terms he signed up for. Something pointed to very well by Quentin Tarantino in his book, right, of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is about the Manson thing, but it's more about what the Manson activity. And the Manson activity was, he had a young prostitute of about 13 that all of the Beach Boys really enjoyed fucking. Which is how Charlie Manson got in with musicians and started to have ideas that he could possibly be a star. Is that they liked fucking one of his cult members. They made him every promise they needed to, and gave him bits of encouragement, and gave him a few dollars here and there. He sold them a bit of acid as well, and they found him a few quid. It's like, you can keep coming round as long as you keep bringing her with you, but like fucking her. And that was going on in the house next door to Roman Polanski. The house next door. Actually, no, it was sorry, I've got it wrong. It was happening in the house that Polanski moved into later. The guy at the Beach Boy was the previous owner of the house. And that's what they were doing in that house. They were having Charlie Manson round all the time, but bringing round his best looking girls. And they were all partaking in the 13-year-old nymphomaniac. Who'd been pretty much taught like a fucking thief. As if Manson was some kind of modern day Fagin, teaching these girls to be like spies. Knowing exactly what they were doing. Like similarities in crackpots, criminals. Manson's got a lot in common with Tate. They're very similar in their approaches and their methodologies and their in essence games. They're playing the same game. Tate is a ringer for Charlie Manson. Like, ooh. He's made his money using women as a tool to manipulate men. His ultimate victim and target being men. Women are just the tools of the trade. He's a pimp. He has to drive the action. Andrew Tate, in his way of driving the action, has driven an incredible amount of action. He's the the highest achieving pimp probably ever. He's Pimp of the Year, Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is Pimp of the Year every year since about 2016, and he's at the stage as to where now he's crying his eyes out and he's rubbing it in your face. Pimp of the Year. Capable of whatever he needs to be, whenever he needs to be it. He can play whatever fucking part he needs to play to fucking get his way, to get his money. It's like, what a creature that's arrived. His downfall is his magical thinking. He just never stops. It never ends. He can keep feeling better in the moment by talking a new reality into existence and have people nod along and agree with him. And that's not going to last. It's not going to last very long. He's at the final stages of the end. And at the final stage of the end, you get desperate. He gets to actually experience at the final stage of the end what it is to have been me for about, I don't know, a month or two. He gets to be a man who's facing the end, who's a dying man. I didn't always know I was a dying man. I know I'm a dying man now, but I didn't know I was a dying man for so long. But I know what it is. And he's going to learn to feel like that. To know there's an outcome that's unavoidable. And it'd be a matter of there's nothing you can say that's going to stand in the way of when all those fucking angry politicians and diplomats start to fight for who gets to fucking skin this pelt. Who gets to be the guy to try this fucker. Now, there's a thing that Andrew Tate hasn't calculated for. Something he's stupid. He doesn't really have any. He don't listen to anyone. He's not as intelligent as he thinks he is. And he's sending himself to America. Right? He has signed his final death warrant. He's done it. He's finished. So why the hell would you go there? Right? Why? The American justice system. You think of the court jury, the situation he has with a judge where he ends up just muddying the water and saying, "Oh, it's just all made up. It's all." You're misreading the way that we talk to each other in court. We have our way of saying things, and you're mistranslating. They can go forever against that system in Romania like that because it's only up against a judge. It's only getting the case agreed upon and then a judge reading it and then giving it his verdict. It's not a jury system. Fucking jury in the US get Andrew Tate in a courtroom fighting for his life, right? The amount of self-snitching that he's done in the past, I'll be brought straight up. And they'd be showing a jury something like maybe 30 hours or something that's available of him admitting to all kinds of heinous crimes and moral outrages. That jury is not going to find him innocent. It can't find him innocent. An American jury will never let someone who mouths off like that get away with it, ever. It's just cringe, it's distasteful. And he's only allowed to talk like that because he's on the internet, and on the internet no one can shoot you or punch you in the fucking face. You get a courtroom or a jury to endure hours of his self-snitching. And they ain't going to do anything but find that guy guilty. There's no fucking jury in the world that will let him get off with what he's charged with compared with what he's claimed he's done. That he's actually fessed up to. He's done his suicide. He should never step foot in America. It's like, right, okay, there's laws he doesn't seem to have fucking realised. In America, it's illegal to be a sex tourist, right? There's plenty of people out in the world who are creepy fucking pedo types, right? Who get away with it, right? And keep a lid on it by being someone who goes on holiday to like Pattaya or Bangkok, Thailand, right? Where you can have sex with kids and it's all normalised. They're all dressed up like little girls, you know. But, you know, you can get young ones there. And if you want young ones, you can go there and get them. And that's how people who've got a bit of a creepy taste for kids, that's where they go. They go to Thailand. They're able to keep a lid on it. They're able to keep it quiet, right? But the Thais are sick of the world using their country as a fucking brothel. And the kid element, the prostitution thing, they're not going to be able to make that go away. But the children element, they want to see an end to that. So they've started to have eyes and communicate and work with the Thais. As these guys who are going over here for kids, we'd like to know who they are. Because America now made it so an American citizen can be charged with statutory rape for going abroad and having sex with someone under the age of 18. Now you might think, well, that's a weird, like, it's a law, it's a United States law. Sex tourism has been made illegal in the United States. If they find out you've had sex with kids in another country, you can get done for it in the US. I don't think Tate has been keeping up to date with these changes in what's going on in the world to stop child sex trafficking. Thailand being a massive hub for child sex trafficking. Thailand be a country where people be so wicked as they sell their children into prostitution. Even see it as a way of making money. And it's like, I'm sorry, but this is the world we live in. You know, the people who support and feed that business, who are willing to pay a fucking handsome price to have sex with kids, they tend to come from Germany, Britain, and America. And they go to Pattaya, places like that. I've never been to Thailand, would never even consider it. I'll say that people who do and go and partake, what'll happen is you'll get fucked up, captured with, because you're not ready to see that. No one is. You'll fall under the spell of one of these whores who will tell you a sob story, because that's the way whores win the hearts of gentlemen. Fucking people I've known in Rochdale go mental over women they think they've fallen in love with who were whores in Thailand. And it'd be all about the sad story she tells about her upbringing and how she's been passed around and how she's been used. I've got to rescue her, and it's like, oh God. I remember hearing a tale of one guy I knew from another guy I knew who was saying, he's lost his fucking mind, that guy, he's going to lose everything now. He said he's fallen in love with this prostitute in Thailand. And this was a guy himself who partakes in this. He goes to Thailand himself. He partakes in this, but he doesn't suddenly fall in love with them. But this guy was someone who had a wife who was just absolutely beautiful. And then she just basically just dumped him for someone else. But she was a lot younger than him. She was one of them. He was a 40-year-old good-looking lad who had a wife of about 28. And she just one day decided she could just trade him in for something better and just dropped him on his face, fucked his life up. So he's one of these people who, the best cure for that kind of betrayal is whores and drugs. But he wasn't into it. He was like, I'm not into it with kids. No. But yeah, he was somebody who part up. And he was telling me, it's like, this guy's crying on the phone to me every night saying, I've got to go back and I've got to get her. And it's like, shit, he's like, I was there only a week before and she was like sat on some great big fat German guy's lap telling him exactly the same bullshit she told you. And he'd be like, this guy's not listening, he can't accept it. He has to go back and somehow buy her freedom and fill in whatever fucking paperwork he needs to fill in. It's like, oh, fuck me. There was a whole host of prostitutes came over to Rochdale, be about 20 years ago now, maybe a bit longer, maybe 2000-ish, where in my local working men's club there were like half a dozen guys who all got into this, let's all go, we're single blokes, like my age guys, let's all go to Thailand and fuck some kids, right? And I think all of them brought back a Thai like bride. All of them. One who was an old buddy of mine who was one of the cheekiest tricksters and fraudsters you've ever fucking experienced in your life, who'd worked out that fiddling 10p and 20p and 50p and a pound and 20p and 10p, if you do it for long enough, you can have a load of money. Like, whoa. Quite a cheeky genius fraudster I used to know. Well, he went over and stayed over and lived there, but he worked out some ingenious way of still getting paid his fucking sickness money for his gout. So he was like on the sick, drawing money from Britain and living in Thailand and still having, housing benefit, paying for his mortgage relief, and worked out the fiddle for proper. It's like there's rules against people investing money from outside the country in Thailand, but if you marry someone, you can invest in money. You can gift her money and she can invest, build things, and so he ended up putting all his money into Thailand. But he didn't. He's one of the one guy. He's one he didn't get ripped off, and he'd be a very eccentric fellow and always a very entertaining guy, and someone who always saw the criminal angle of any enterprise. Not a bad guy, but he's just wise as fuck. He'd have fitted in anywhere, probably in any community of working class people in the world. You'd see him as an eccentric, almost genius with his layers of trickery. Like a minor criminal genius, Adrian. We stayed over there, but others brought these women back. And none of them, I think all of them had expectations higher than just being some woman who sat in a council house all day while they worked. Just jobbing jobs. One of them works in a dye house operating a machine, the other one who works for the council, another one who's retired, another one who does a bit of part-time work as a chef. These guys are not in any way, shape or form catches. They were the last turkeys in the shop, but those fucking scammers from Thailand, they were the ones they wanted. Them women stayed married to those men for 2 years to the fucking day before they abandoned the job and joined up with Kith and Kin in Manchester. Those guys had just been used as it's a painful way of going about it. You're going to have to let these old men fuck you. But, you can keep a lid on that if you want. You can play all kinds of games. You can just keep it down to, to have a go monthly, Keep their houses clean, keep yourself busy, and know once you've done it at the right amount of time, you can torpedo the marriage and you are not going to be asked to leave the country. So then you can meet up with your mates who've pulled off the same fucking trick. So they go off to join some fucking whore's refuge that's masquerading as a Thai restaurant in Manchester. And that's the end of the story. Those guys never saw those women again. They just completely... And by then, all those guys had spent every penny they had on them. And all of them learned a terrible lesson. And it's like there's a gang of them. And it's like this be such a letdown and a betrayal that it took years off their lives. Of those guys, I can only think of one of them who still lives. And he was a relatively young bloke and not a man without a sense of humour, as to where I dare say he would probably knew what was going on and was pretending not to see it, so it wouldn't be so bad for him. You think he probably was smart enough to realise something was amiss after about a year. Would be terrible. It's like these guys were just flat out scammed. Some really low brow bottom feeders in Thailand actually targeted these fucking nutters and went, oh, how about some British passports? Hoorah. Tell you, I've known loads of them, and I'm like, I got to meet a guy once who I did some driving with, and got to meet his wife, and it's like, oh fuck me, and she'd be like a Thai woman about 20 years younger than him. I'm like, not again, not again. And it'd be a matter of, I don't hear from him very often, he's probably dead, and it's a matter of she won't sticking around for long, and it's a matter of, oh no. And so that lad was, oh God, someone who has the distinction of being not as attractive as I am. And he's arm in arm with this little Thai woman. You're like, oh. So like, she'll be gone. No, she's got no desire to sit in your house all fucking day, mate. You have a job that keeps you away from home about 60, 70 hours a week. Forget it. Didn't want to say nothing. It's like it's a very low-brow, high-value, long con for some people who come from a world we cannot imagine and would, in a heartbeat, sacrifice their dignity to find a way out into another country. Yeah, fucking mail order brides. Wow. Number of times in my life I've come across people who've took the plunge and actually gone for the mail order bride. So common. So common. It's like, how in the world do you consider that that's going to be a fucking good idea? But the lot with Thais, they went over and picked their own out. It's like no one was selling these women to be brides. They were just prostitutes who these guys took a shine to. It's like, and then you're surprised that they behave that way. It's like, that cracks me up. Knowing that they're telling the same fucking sob story to every single one of those guys. And it's like, these women are addictive. They'll fucking hurt you bad if you believe all the tales they tell you, because they probably have lived that broken life. You don't need to hear about it. It gets in your head. You start to love them. You don't love them. You feel sorry for them. You feel an overwhelming sense of sympathy, and it appeals to something as to where I can save this person. And as soon as you utter those words, I can save them. Like, yes, got one. We're off. We're off to Blackpool. We're going to get to see the London Eye, Buckingham Palace. Here we go. Shocking, terrible things that happen to people. But it'd be a matter of that. It's like, there's no justice, mate. That's the thing. There's no justice, and you'll get it where, say, how many of the population of, say, this country are sex tourists of all ages. We scream and shout about foreigners, or people who'd be classed as foreigners who've partaken of the youngsters and been bottom feeders that have exploited the lowest for sexual gratification. It was like, is it okay that they just go and do that in another country, though? Could be said that we're allowing the export of child abuse to other countries. I think in some regards it's like governments are on the hook for that. You're enabling something. There's been problems with people in this world who've been secretly gay or secretly bi or have taste. Married men with a taste for little boys is a thing. And it's like, there's certain countries in the world where you can go to where that kind of activity is entertained. It's like Colombo, Sri Lanka is the place to go if you're an old man who likes to fuck little boys. and has had that status for, oh God, I don't know, 80 years. You hear about pervy old men going on jollies to Morocco. Somewhere else where you can get away with things like that, where it's seen as being, oh yeah, well, the kid's no, he's nothing, he's just a beggar, you know. He's been trained up to earn like that. Doesn't know any different. Go and fuck him. And it's like, I have a big problem with that. I do. It's like you're bringing a sickness home. I know people, so many people who've done that become sex tourists and then become dramatically ill with all kinds of, you know, suddenly the health completely deteriorate. I remember my old man saying of a friend of mine who'd done that, and he's like, he's got AIDS in. Like, what? Oh. So ever since he's been to bloody Thailand, fucking all those kids, it's like he's caught some kind of disease off them. He's dying. He's wasting the fuck away, and he did. He stopped eating, convinced himself he didn't need to eat anymore. He could get all the nutrition he needed from the odd drink of milk. And he was dying, and one day he turned yellow, had a funny do, and then he was, you know, it was done. He was terminally ill. Managed to kill himself, and it's a matter of, my dad, Larry's like, he's got AIDS in. That's what that is. And it's like, yeah, he was probably right. I don't know if AIDS technically works just like that, but if you... The way you'd expect someone to go dying of AIDS if it be eventual liver failure. Yeah, that's how he went. He just went off a cliff. And it's to say, when my daddy put it together, it's like, since he went away, shagging all those youngsters over in Thailand, his health has just fallen off a cliff, and he had. And he got himself involved with all kinds of fucking women of exceptionally low quality, and also brought them into, you know, a social circle of their betters. And they've then ensued to start all kinds of fucking chaos, certainly for me. Like real fucking dangerous hags who saw my mate as a dying man who had a pension he could leave for someone. Straight up saw him as because I say, he's not a man you want to be spending your time with. He's the last fucking turkey in the fucking shop, a drunken idiot. And suddenly some middle-aged woman's all over him, bringing her weird fucking kids into the mix and seeing, oh, when he croaks, how many years has he put into that pension? Quickly arranged a wedding where it's like on the wedding photographs, the groom has got like an oxygen pipe in his nose and he's yellow like fucking Bart Simpson, and that'll be a wedding photo. Oh yeah, we got married just at the right time for me to inherit his pension, and that'd be, you know, a few quid. And it'd be people. There are people that low, John, and it's like, yes, there fucking are. Every major big fucking crime in the world has its corresponding condescending small crime, where someone's done something just as despicable for much less. He does it, really replicates its way right through the fucking system. Now, if you were to, so we're still in fantasy mode, aren't we? We're still talking about what we'd do if I was in charge here. Root that out, address it. That's the fucking wickedness. That's the thing. It's like we've got an elite class that have had concentration, a control of the system and the word, who've done their best to turn us into fucking perverts. And it'd be just dead easy, just a straight up gradual boiling of the frog to turn people into hypersexualised perverts. Makes people blind morally. It moves, as they say, the Overton window. It makes suddenly degenerate sexual behaviour tolerated. This has happened over a period of about 60 years or something. So conduct that would once have gotten you beaten to death, they'll now, the police will dress up just like you and dance next to you. So the direction those who've controlled the media have taken us in is one into robbing children of their innocence and hypersexualizing them. In essence, grooming them. The ones that can be influenced by your pop music will be influenced by your pop music and become a self-selecting bunch of groupies who want to fuck you to death and don't even know why they really like you. So that's a big part of that's a big part of the game. That's what society have done, and then also that's learned how to defend itself. I have a situation as to where a friend of mine, his daughter's like 14, and her mother has forever been dressing her like an adult. And I'm like, and she's going to grow up to be a rather pretty one. She's a friend of mine's daughter. And I'm like, you're going to be run ragged by a bullshit lying. Men trying to get in her inbox are being like super targeted by the entire wing of the predator pimp class. All the ages from 18 to 40. You'll promise her the fucking world. I'm like to people, keep your kids off social media. Stop showing us picture of your kids growing up. It's like you're broadcasting a fucking right strong signal to certain people as to where they'll be looking at that 7-year-old and thinking, you know, time she gets to 13 or 14, I'm going to have a go at that. Horrendous thing to say, but that's something that's in the mind of those that do. I've heard that bullshit from the mouths of one or two people. All the shit in jest that people will say, like, you're old enough when you... What's that old saying? Joey Barton said it a few weeks ago when I was listening to him. A terrible, terrible, crass old saying from round here, which is, they're old enough when their feet... They can go and use the toilet and their feet touch the ground. The old notion of when there's grass on the pitch, let's play. It's like those are humans who were conditioned early to bond in that regard by way of the virginity thing. It's like you're supposed to stay with that first person for good, and if you do, things turn out all right for you, more or less. As long as you maintain that sort of bond and keep what you've built amongst yourself, they can be successful marriages. You can be bonded permanently. But it's a matter of, if you start to throw that around, it's like you will ruin your opportunity of having a functional, good basis of a relationship. It's a matter of that. It's like virginity would be massive, and it'd be a matter of the number of girls who've been encouraged by, in essence, really the way that they've been raised, to go and get rid of their virginity, and therefore it'd be some kind of coming of age, and actually it not be anything like what they considered it. The repercussions of it be nothing like they considered what it might be, as to where when you're a youngster you're like, ooh, I'll have a go at that. Murderous. Kids are terrible for it. children and sexual assault and rape and consensual sex with kids who are very young, right, between each other. Nobody ever addresses that. The world does fucking cover that up. And why will small kids behave like that? Oh, it's because of materials they've been exposed to or things that they've seen. Monkey see, monkey do age. Between like 3 and fucking 7. Some never grow out of. Every move's been made to encourage that kind of breaking of the kids, which is why you've got the uptick. LGBTQP. It's a manifestation of it. Them ones, every single one of them with the tattooed face who gets on is just telling me a story as to, yeah, someone really lied to you, didn't you, when you were about 12? Really fucking stitched you up. 13. It's like you're bisexual or a lesbian now, but there are a time in history where you were filled out like a fucking application form. Don't think there's a single lesbian in the world who ever started a lesbian. I'm sorry to say it, but they were all, in some regards, just destroyed by the first people who came along and stole everything they had. They just become almost a repeat, a sort of a beast seeking revenge in some regards. Something very valuable thrown away, discarded, shattered. Trust, gone. And then, do you recover from that? It's like, not necessarily. It's like, in being someone, you know, who would take an... I'm not saying, you know, if someone's been... If you find yourself in a situation with someone who's like brand new at the game, right? Like teenage, but they're like pure, you know, someone who's, you know, still a virgin. It's like, do not interfere with that person's life. Protect them. It's like, you should guard that person best as you can. I know you can't do very much in this day and age, but do your best to keep them on the straight and narrows for as long as they can. So they might end up making a choice they don't fucking regret. They may find themselves having an opportunity to do something great. And all you've got to do is keep your legs closed for long enough as to where your true value and sort of place manifests. But it's like, there's no way in this world no young women's ever going to take no advice from me, because what the fuck do I know? Although my nephew did pick up something that was an incredible tome of wisdom that is never going to be thrown in a waste paper basket, which was from Aldi, and it cost 50 pence, and it was the Little Beyonce Book of Wisdom and Quotes. And that thing, every now and then, he bought it. It's like, oh, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep it on desk, and every day I'm going to read about wisdom. People he works with. Right, here's today's quip from the Beyonce Book of Wisdom. Costs about 50 pence at Aldi, this book, and that has all kinds of things in there encouraging little girls to just go out and do whatever the fuck you like. It's pretty much every page. It's like we get the joke, and between us we understand it, and every quip in it is a matter of, you know what it really means, doesn't it? You know, that's really encouraging. It's like, yep, go and get some dick. Go every page of it. Another way, every page of it, another way of saying, little girl, go and get some dick. And this be a massive, you know, children's book, and it'd be, oh, this is a piece of gold. And it's like, is it official Beyonce, or has someone just used her name to sell it? And it doesn't fucking matter. It's a book of Beyonce wisdom. We know what Beyonce wisdom is. You don't need nobody. Go out and do whatever the fuck you like. If you see something better, just go and get it. Fuck everyone. It's like a virtue in this leftist society, certainly in the media, is the highest tolerance for that kind of disaster. That people with the highest tolerance for that kind of just mass dysfunction. And a mark of sophistication is to be someone who's best able to just talk that and blow that off as if to say, oh, you're just immature in some regards, or prudish for believing that. And it's like, and no, you know that the sort of the correlation between sexual dysfunction and relationships and the outcomes like schizophrenia and depression and personality disorder. It's like sex goes absolutely hand in hand with all of them. Mental illnesses born of trauma all have sexual elements and are all hand in hand. So it's like you're talking up insanity. You are enabling some pretty dysfunctional behaviour, and you're breeding a lot of misery with your tolerance and as to be aloof about, you know, the notion that someone's, I don't know, taken 50 pelts, has got a body count of broken little boys behind them that stretches all the way back to 2005, you know. It's like that's not something that can be easily addressed. Not when you're. It's been just normalised now. There've been so long of it as to where, the intention of pretty much I'd say the entire culture, one way or another, is an attempt to sexualise children and then keep people in their imaginations hypersexualised. I think the internet as this is a long-term thing that's been done through mostly, I mean, to start off with, you know, children's and adults entertainment in television, but the internet has brought it on leaps and bounds. It's shown people who are looking to do this to people through the society and the entertainment media. They've shown them why it works. Porn. It's just shown them why it works and encourage them to push it a bit further, push the envelope. My rule of thumb with what has been broadcast television is, if it makes you fucking cringe, it is in its way violating you in one way or another. As to one should be, when something becomes corny or cringe or creepy, you should take notice of that as to where, well, it's just moved the needle a little bit further towards just absolute depravity. I mean, I like a laugh as much as the next person, but it's like, what's with the award show satanic rituals? What's with it? Me being someone who kind of understands that side of the game, as to where that side of the old coin, as to where the thrill of the adrenaline and in the act of sadism and sacrifice. That's pretty horny stuff. It's dirty bad. It's like, you don't, why be dirty bad? It's like, is that the limit of your imagination? What a wide old world we've got, and like every awards ceremony, some kind of anti-phallic, if you like, satanic ritual. It's like, why? It's like, why is the idea of doing this seen as being so edgy? It's like, who are you trying to offend? Whose attention are you trying to get? Who are you angry at? Who are you trying to reach? What deity in the world is taking glee in your sacrifice of the young? It's a matter of a thing. There are gods in the world, but I do not work for Baal. I do not work for Baal, unfortunately. I'm quite the old sadistic, the sadism of cruelty is a dangerous drug that I'd like to see the uptake of and supply of be diminished to make the world a much safer place, to remove the real fucking monsters. Telling you, there are those, and we know in those in the world who take a great delight from, when in a position of strength or authority, to abuse arbitrary power for their own jollies, satisfaction, pleasure. And that be just like any other kind of addiction. It gets to a situation as to where it goes further and further and further and further. And it's like in a world full of them, innocence can't exist. People are asked to become adults far earlier than they're actually ready to. And humanity in that regard is failing. We're failing in developmental cycles everywhere. And then having mothers who bring children into the world who are in essence, in some regards, like biblical, almost like the spawn of the devil. And it's like, why is that, John? And it'd be a matter of, they didn't ask for them. No, I got pregnant on accident. They didn't become deliberately pregnant. They weren't like, I want to be a mother. Usually the correct measure to become a mother is to get married. But there's a way of skipping that, isn't there? Yeah, there is. So many of them end up pregnant. Weren't actually planned, weren't part of the agenda. They were, And it's like, that's something to be, that. Humans, no matter how despicable, have got the ability, all of them, to spit kids out. And they be people who you wouldn't want anyone near anyone's kids, let alone their own, that they've got a bond to. I'm not saying I'm someone who's out there saying, they should stop nutters from having kids. I'm someone who is not saying ban anything. I'm saying be aware, nutters have kids. Be aware. And it's like, what are you trying to tell us, John? It's like, well... Only a nutter could tell you that.